The moderator for this session will be Dr. Ahmad Sharif. Before I hand over the screen to Dr. Ahmad Sharif, please allow me to read a brief introduction about Dr. Ahmad Sharif. Dr. Ahmad Sharif is the head of the Forum of Program Studi Desain Produk at the Forum of Product Design Program Studies, which is an affiliate to ADPPII, the Alliance of Indonesian Industrial Product Designers, the editorial board of Jurnal Desain Indonesia, the reviewing board of Jurnal Idea Prodi Desain Produk ITS Surabaya. He received his bachelor's degree in product design from FSRD ITB, the Faculty of Art and Design here at Institut Teknologi Bandung, and his postgraduate diploma from the Royal Danish Academy of Fine Art in Copenhagen, Denmark, his master's degree from the College of Design, Arizona State University, and doctorate degree in design psychology from the Faculty of Engineering at Chiba University, Japan. Dr. Sharif is a member of the Interaction Design Foundation, Design Research Society UK, and Aliansi Desainer Produk Indonesia, Produk Industri Indonesia ADPPI, the Alliance of Indonesian Industrial Product Designers. His research interests include human-object interaction, product semantics, the psychology of interaction, design research, and design education. Hello, Dr. Sharif. Good morning.
Good morning, Sabrina. Thank you for introducing me.
Thank you for joining with us this morning. And I would like to ask you about the recent research topics, because I see your research topics are quite vast here. Could you tell us a little bit about the most recent topics that you've been researching on?
Okay, yes, as you explained before, I'm on to research in human interaction with objects, mostly using psychological approach to understand how users behave when interacting with design object. My current research is looking into how users perceive and choose display image of furniture design on an online shop using eye tracking device. I'm also developing a light and easily assemble furniture right now using 3D printed joint system, in which I hope I can exhibit it at the end of this year. I think that's my current research and current project.
Lovely. We're looking forward to see the designs later on, maybe towards the end of the year, I hope. Okay, then Dr. Sharif, I will be handing over the screen to you for the plenary session.
Okay, then I presided over the screen now. Okay, everybody, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, everyone, from wherever you are right now across the globe. Greetings from ITB Bandung, Indonesia. Once again, welcome to the third plenary sessions of the second International Conference on Art, Craft, Culture, and Design, or ICON ARCCADE. Before I begin, please allow us to present the following introductory video. Please.
Hello, my name is Marta Zarza. I am a Mexican industrial designer. I am also an undergraduate and graduate professor at the Faculty of Architecture and Design of the Autonomous University of the State of Mexico. As an academic, my research activity and publications address topics related to gender and design, as well as socially responsible design. I am currently a board member of the World Design Organization and head of the research area of the university. I am very happy to participate as a keynote speaker with a topic related with women, design, and community development. I hope you join us next September 29th and 30th to this great event, the ICON ARCCADE 2021. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you for the video. So, ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to reintroduce our next speaker, my dear friend, Dr. Marta Patricia Zarza Delgado. Before I explain and reintroduce our next speakers, please kindly remind all the audience that Dr. Zarza's presentation will be held within 45 minutes until 9:55 a.m. Western Indonesian time, followed by 30 minutes of question and answers. To ensure constructive discussion, please write your questions in the Q&A box. You may see the Q&A box icon next to the participant and chat icon in your Zoom application menu tray near the bottom of your screen. When you ask the question, please write also your name and the institution you belong to. As already mentioned in the brief introductory video, Dr. Zarza is a professor for the undergraduate and graduate programs at the Faculty of Architecture and Design of, I will mention in the original name, Universidad Autónoma del Estado del México in Mexico, from where she graduated with bachelor's degree in industrial design. She holds master degree in product design from Universitat Politécnica de Catalunya in Barcelona, Spain. Later on, Dr. Zarza also studied a second master degree in School of Design, Arizona State University, Tempe, Arizona, USA. Dr. Zarza holds her doctoral degree in social sciences from El Colegio Mexiquense in Mexico. She started her professional life by designing ergonomic tools, display furniture, and toys for blind children before moving over to the academic sector as a teacher and scientist. Her research addresses issues of gender and design, as well as socially responsible design. As mentioned before, Dr. Zarza currently serves as the head of research at the Universidad Autónoma del Estado de Mexico and elected as a board member of the World Design Organization, or WDO. This morning, Dr. Zarza will present her paper on women, design, and community development, in which she will share her effort to develop the stove design as a way to improve health conditions for women in rural homes of Mexico. In her research, she will emphasize on the relations of design and gender, tackling the issue of sustainable development and social well-being, not only from the perspective between urban and rural areas, but also between genders. I'm sure we will learn a lot from her presentation. Without further ado, I will ask Dr. Zarza to present her paper. Dr. Zarza, the screen is yours.
Thank you very much, Sharif. I'm gonna start sharing my screen, and please let me know if you can see it.
Yes, it's already.
Yeah, is there? Okay,
yeah.
Is there, right? Thank you. Well, hello, everybody. Thank you very much for the invitation. It's a great pleasure and an honor to be part of this great event, the Icon ARCCADE 2021. I would like to let you know give you previously to start with this presentation, some information about it. My presentation is going to be about research that is still in progress. It's a research project that hasn't finished yet. But I thought that what we have done so far would be interesting for you. I hope it is that way. I would also let you know that this project has been worked in a collaborative way with the Cranfield University, that is in England, UK, and the Autonomous University of the State of Mexico, where I work. And the sponsorship comes from the Mexican Council of Science and Technology. They provided us the sponsor for doing this research that, as I said before, it is an ongoing research. Well, having said that, I would like to start by to tell you a few things about Mexico for some of you that maybe don't know a lot about my country. So I started looking for some information about Indonesia and Mexico, and it came out that we have some similarities and some others that are not exactly similar, but are interesting to know about the two countries. We both, it seems that, well, as you can see, this is Mexico, the one in orange, and the one in green, as you know, this is Indonesia. And it came out that we have pretty much the same territory. We have pretty much the same square kilometers, but the people that we have, according to the quick research that I made, I don't know if this is updated, but we have, Indonesia has the double amount of people that we have in Mexico. It's 130 million people in Mexico, living in Mexico, and 262 million people living in Indonesia. In Mexico is the third largest economy in Latin America, and it came out that Indonesia is the largest economy in Southeast Asia. And both countries are republics. So for talking a little bit more about Mexico, as maybe some of you know, Mexico was the place at some point of very important ancient civilizations, like the Olmecs, Maya, and Aztec are the better known ancient civilizations of Mexico. After the Spanish arrived here, Mexico was ruled by Spain for 3 centuries, starting in the early 16th century. And the country got its independence early in the 19th century, first as a short-lived empire and then as a republic in 1824. As in many Latin American countries, soccer is a widely shared obsession. And I'm sharing this information to you because this kind of public events, sometimes assisting or going to these public events, you can identify how the culture works, or you can identify some important ways of interaction within the culture. And it came out that this kind of events like soccer is a way of showing that Mexican culture is a very androcentric and patriarchal culture. And so like the famous idea of the Mexican macho is actually pretty much true and as I said before, in these public events, we can identify in some way these characteristics of the Mexican culture. The country's film industry is also very well known in the region as the largest one. There are many Mexican actors and filmmakers that have received recently international recognition for their work. Just for giving an example, I don't know if you're familiar with the movie Roma, but in general terms, the movie shows, for example, the story of 2 women with very different conditions. I mean, talking about the social structure, the social level structure in Mexican society. 2 women with very different realities. One woman comes from the indigenous group of Mexico, and the other one is like a middle class woman. But both of them have very similar gender inequalities, which is also a way to show how the Mexican society works, or some of the problems that Mexican society has. Well, the other movie is a fantastic movie, and it only shows it is made by Guillermo del Toro, and is in some way it shows that Mexico is also we call it like a magic place, because there are things that happen that seems that only can happen in this country. Mexico is a nation of contrasts. Some of them you can find it in the sites. No? You can have in the same country arid lands like the one that I have in the right, as well as very beautiful Caribbean coastlines, like the beautiful coastlines that you also have in Indonesia. Mexico society has also extremes of wealth and poverty. And when talking about poverty, is actually the focus that we have in this research project that we started. It's one of the main issues why we started working in this project. According to the United Nations for Gender Equality, there are, in today's world, different phases, significant gaps in sustainable development and social well-being. These gaps are between rich and poor countries, as well as between urban and rural areas, but also between men and women. And in this regard, it points out that energy and water, to mention just two essential services, are usually divided by gender. And the research project that I'm going to talk about, it is focused in rural areas of Mexico and in women conditions of the rural areas. And all the gender issues that come out when we are talking about women in poverty, and mainly indigenous women living in Mexico in rural areas of extreme poverty. In rural areas of Mexico, the energy consumption patterns are characterized by a high dependence on biomass, with cooking as the main energy consumption. There are several comparative studies of wood stoves that are used in Mexico that that show that this wood stove really need to improve. We need to improve them because they are giving a lot of troubles to the people of the community, but mainly to women because of the indoor pollution that they provoke to women that use these products. Women generally walk long distances and spend a lot of time each day gathering firewood as well as performing basic subsistence tasks, which consumes much of their time and diminishes their physical well-being, thereby limiting their access to educational and employment opportunities and the possibility of improving their life choices. In this context, women are the only ones in charge of all the housework and taking care of the kids of the family. They have, for example, to walk between 1 or 2 hours to get the water or the wood for the stove for their everyday activities. Even in the weekends, they usually have to go to the rivers to wash their clothes. That's what the picture is there. So it is in these conditions, women in these conditions are the one in charge of the traditional roles at home. So what the case study that I'm going to talk about today, as I was saying before, this is Mexico. And in this research project, we conducted 3 different case studies. The one that I'm going to talk about to you today is the one conducted in the state of Mexico, which is in the center, is this place. But we actually conducted 3 case studies with indigenous women in rural areas in Mexico. The other case study was here in the border of Mexico and Guatemala. The state is Chiapas. Mexico has 32 states. It is conformed with 32 states. One of them for our case study was the state of Mexico. The other one was Chiapas, which is here. And the other one was Oaxaca, which is right here. But right now, I'm only going to talk about this case study. The 3 of them actually show very similar conditions. The weather changes a little bit, but the conditions of the women and the way that they use for the energy for cooking is pretty much the same. So we are going to talk mainly about the state of Mexico, the case study of the state of Mexico, because it's a place where I live, and it was a place where we had more opportunities to do the ethnographic study and the implementation of the prototypes that we were building. So this is the state of Mexico, and in the state of Mexico, there is a region called San Jose del Rincón. It's a municipality, we call it that way. This is the municipality of San Jose del Rincón. And within this municipality, there is a very small village called Jaltepec. Jaltepec has a population of 1,644 inhabitants. This is a place where the Mazahua, there is a community of Mazahua. Mazahua is an indigenous ethnic group of Mexico. It's actually the largest one. They speak Mazahua as well as Spanish. Sadly, the new generation are losing the language. They are speaking Spanish. They understand the Mazahua, but they don't speak that much the language anymore. This community is represented as being a community of extreme poverty in Mexico, because there are certain criteria to name it that way. The houses in this community are houses with their floors, with latrines, the houses that don't have the proper bathrooms, or the ones that we usually have in the urban areas. They have far away from the house. They don't have potable water for drinking at home. They have to walk out the home to get the water. And they use wood for cooking and for warm up the house and for getting energy for the house, mainly for cooking. In this area, the weather range from -2 degrees to 24 degrees Celsius. And the people from the community, they say that they have 6 months of rainy season and 6 months of dry season. That's pretty much the way they explain about the weather. This area is very, very close to a forest. It's actually part of a forest that is a reserve, the Monarch Butterfly Biosphere Reserve, which is also a World Heritage Site since 2008. And these are beautiful butterflies that come all over from Canada to Mexico in winter time. And it's a great spectacle to watch all the butterflies coming to this place. And the community of Jaltepec, where we made a case study, they are very proud of being part of this nature event. They take a lot of care of this forest, because they know that is the house of these butterflies. And they also know that the forest is providing them, the community, with what they need for living. Jaltepec is also very well known, or is also known because women, in the free time that they have, they make the textile crafts, the broderies, and they, whenever they can, they sell the crafts, and it's a way of getting money, an extra income, mainly for women. Men in the community have seasonal working in construction. They usually move to the cities. The closest one is Toluca, is the capital of the state, or Mexico City, the big capital of the country. And they even moved to work to United States. So at some time of the year, the community is mainly habitated by women and children, because men are working outside to get some money. And as it is pretty much the whole country, the corn we are a culture of corn. So in this place, the corn agriculture force, the use of the family is the normal activity. So the design process for this research project was divided in three big stages or phases. The first one was the ethnographic study, that it was mainly conducted by the group of academics of the Autonomous University of the State of Mexico. The next phase was the design and building prototypes, which was in charge of the University, Cranfield University and the Autonomous University of the State of Mexico. We worked together doing this. And then the third phase, the implementation and evaluation, is also by the two universities. It's a collaborative work of the two universities. So starting with the ethnographic study, we got primary data from semi-structured in-depth interviews. We visited the places. We were a group of pretty much 15 people going to the places and talking. The interviews were around 2 hours, each one, in some cases even 3 hours. From these interviews, we got very, very interesting life stories of women in which we can recognize that these women have very complicated lifestyles. They work so hard, but also they have very difficult situations when talking about violence, all kind of violence against them. So that was a very sad situation. We also made ethnographic pictures. The ethnographic study also included a focus group to talk with women and getting more information from them. It was obviously a lot of data that we got from this ethnographic study. Some of the data is now published in a book that is mainly focused in the pictures. We got very beautiful pictures of the women of these communities, and with just few information about the way or the style of life of these women, with the main intention of visualize the conditions and this reality that Mexico has, and some people doesn't want to see or to accept that this is also Mexico. And this is also a problem that we face every day, and the professionals of every area, including designers, sometimes don't want to do something for them or to take them into consideration. So that was a parallel project of this research project, the book, that is now out there, hopefully doing a good job letting know the rest of the Mexican society about the lifestyle of these women. From the ethnographic study, we obviously got the data collection was clustered in order to find out some patterns and identified the significance of the most important ones. First of all, we found out that these women are very proud of their heritage, their indigenous heritage. They're proud of what they are, their language, but the conditions sometimes don't let them improve their way of life. From the interviews, we also got relevant information about the big inequalities between men and women. As I was telling you before, the women are the one in charge of the house and taking care of the kids, and they also suffer from violence. Food, cooking is very symbolic or even like important activity. In general, for Mexicans, the food is very important. Gastronomy in general is an identity aspect, very important aspect for Mexicans, and it's the same case for this group of women that we interview. We say that these women are like 3 times marginalized, because they have they are marginalized because they belong to a rural poor community, but also because they are part of an indigenous group, that in this country these groups are marginalized, and also because they are women. So that's just to give you an idea of the difficult circumstances that they have in their daily life. Okay, so from the patterns that we identified that were, relevant for our study, that it was mainly focused in the energy for cooking and water too, but I'm talking in this presentation only about the energy for cooking. The main patterns that we got from the interviews and the story lives that we got from them, it came out the wood collection. Wood collection, it was always related or frequently related with time consuming. It's a lot of time to get the wood and that they use every day for cooking and warming up the houses. And it is also related with health issues, because in the best of the cases, they can carry the wood with a donkey or a horse, but mostly they carry the wood by themselves, and they causes back problems for women and even children that they also help with this activity. Another pattern was when talking about cooking stuff, also related with time consuming and health implications. Cooking stuff, well, I'm going to talk about health implications a little bit later, the specific ones that they have. Cooking, food, and wood, also related with health and time consuming. Heating, because the stove, the wood stove, is also used in this community to warm up the house in the winter season. And this is, again, time. It requires a lot of time and effort to get wood for having the stove on the whole day. And obviously the health, because of the fumes or the smoke that is inside the house. They talk a lot in these interviews also about traditional hand and crafts. Women mainly enjoy doing this activity. Is a way of how can I say it? It's a way of preserving their identity as the indigenous group that they are, and it's also a way of getting some money, some income. But it's also like a relaxing activity that they do the few times that they have free, when they are just waiting for the food to be ready, or waiting for the animals to go outside or stuff like that. But some of them have troubles with her eyes because of the fumes of the stoves, and so they are sometimes leaving this activity also away because of the health issues that the wood stove are provoking them. And they also talk a lot about families. Families in Mexican culture, families is a very important aspect, and within these groups is also very important. But whenever they were talking about families, it was mainly related to family roles. That they have this idea that women are the one in charge of taking care of kids, of all the housework, and men are in charge of other activities. So these were like the general patterns that we found after the interviews. Talking in a more specific way, I'm showing you with some pictures about the specific aspects of the usage of the wood stove. Well, I'm showing you these pictures. One is, this is the way they usually, is the more frequent way of getting the wood from the forest. They usually are around 2 kilos mixed firewood that they collect while walking all around the forest. They are very careful to use the wood that is dried, and it is, they don't usually take down trees that are new or that are green or It's only the collection of the wood that is all around the forest. The average consumption per person is estimated 3 kilograms per day, which would imply approximately 5 tons per family each year. So that's the amount of wood that they usually use. In this approximation, obviously. Whenever they have the possibility to use animal for transport, it implies that they will buy it for somebody, the wood, or they will use the donkeys or horses from somebody else. That will imply also to pay some money. But what is the worst condition for them is that the people from the town commented that lately it is even risky for them because the government will fine or sanction people that cut green trees and will give them 600 pesos fine, which will be very expensive for them, that won't be able to pay them. So even knowing that they say that they are very careful not to cut green trees because they understand the importance of the forest. So they mainly use this way of collecting the wood for the daily work. The current types of stove, sometimes they have these two different kinds of stove, if you can call it this way. The one that is in the right is the one in the floor, not the one that is in the floor. That is actually 3 stones and the wood, and they cook in there. And this is more like a proper stove, as you can see, without pipe or chimney to take out the fumes. So that's why you can look all the dark, meaning that the fumes are inside the house and they are, all the time smelling, or whatever you say, the smokes of the wood, whatever they work in there. This is another kind of the stoves that you have there. As you can see, there's mainly women with kids in these places, in the kitchens. And so they are the ones who are more exposed during the day to the smoke from the stoves. This situation usually leads to damage of the respiratory tract and the eyes of women at an early age. They even look older than they actually are because of the hard work outside the house, walking and taking care of the corn and going and taking the water from the rivers and all that work, but also because of the conditions that they have inside the house. Actually, putting the fire on is actually the first activity of the day for women. At 5 p.m. has to be ready, the fire in here has to be ready to cook the corn that they need for the tortillas. That is the basic ingredient for Mexican food. And it is a long process. So sometimes earlier than 5 p.m. they have to go out to look for the wood if they didn't collect it the previous day, or if they finish it during the night warming up the houses. So they start very early with the activities every day. What they like to eat, or what they usually eat, for those of you that are not familiar with Mexican food, these are the tortillas. And this is the main, let's say, the main food that they have. Tortillas, beans, and some veg that they usually have with the flour, with the, I don't remember now the name of this fish, but they cultivate them and they eat them. So the corn is the basic one. They should have tortillas for breakfast, for dinner time, for supper. That's actually, they usually make only two meals a day, the breakfast and dinner. Dinner in Mexico is around 3 or 4, and they most of the times they don't have supper. But this is important because when we wanted to come out with new ideas of energy, we realized that in the interviews they said that cooking the meals for them, mainly the tortillas, it was very important to keep doing it with wood because the taste of the tortillas is very different when they make it with another source of energy. According to some international institutions, like the UN, currently the exposure to coal or wood smoke ranks fourth among health risk factors in developing countries, just in the case that we have in here. It is estimated, according to the World Health Organization, that by 2030, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease will be the third cause of mortality in the world. And that's why we found out that it was very important to do something to help women or people living in these conditions. So based on this very general information that I'm just providing you, the main design parameters that we took into consideration was, first of all, the cultural and identity appearance. At the very beginning, we were thinking, before doing all the ethnographic study, we were thinking to provide them, these communities and especially these women, different alternatives that were cleaner for them, like solar stoves or other kind of energy sources for them to cook. But then we realized that it would be very difficult because, first of all, they are really attached to the identity that comes from the product itself, the kind of stoves that they like, and the way they cook using wood or coal. But also, with some literature review, we found out some cases in India. There was one in India in which I don't remember if it was the government or an international organization that provided actually solar stoves to rural areas of India. And it was a big failure. The people didn't use the stoves because they were far away from also their cultural way of living or way of cooking in this case. And in Mexico, actually in this community, we found a similar example. The government was providing these women with some kind of stoves made of metal stoves. They were given for free for the community, and they didn't use it. In some cases, they even sold the stove, and in some others, they were using the stove like a kind of a table for the kitchen, but they actually didn't use the product. So because of the information that we got from the interviews and also from these cases, we decided that it was very important, a design expression that was cultural compatible with local customs and uses. So cultural and identity was an important design parameter, as well as materials for building, trying to use materials that are cheap and close to the community, easy to use for them to use, because they used to fabricate their houses and their products inside the house, like the stoves by themselves. Obviously, the ergonomics and anthropometric considerations, but very, very important for us was to consider the ambient air quality regulations based on the UK and Mexican standards. UK standards are higher than Mexicans, but we still wanted to cover both of them, the international and the national ones. And another very important design parameter was the thermal efficiency and heating capacity of the product, because obviously that was something for the product to work properly in this case. So we started with the design process with a group of the Cranfield University. This was the multicultural design group. These were students, master students at Cranfield University from different cultural backgrounds, which made very interesting work. This guy was from Africa, from Czech Republic. He was from Colombia. She was from Japan, from Mexico. She's Adriana, the research leading the project in UK. She's from UK. She's from India, and he's from UK. So it was a multicultural group, which in general is the normal process that I'm sure that all of you know. The first phase was the ethnographic and tertiary research, discover, define, in order to have the information, enough information to develop and deliver, to make this timing, to propose a concept, design concept, and to make the prototypes. This was a big challenge, to be honest, because they didn't make the ethnographic study. So I came twice to the university, and we had several video calls using the pictures and videos and trying to explain all of them, what were the circumstances of the people living in these areas, and trying to explain as detailed as possible all the conditions for these women. But so understanding the problem without being in the place, as I said before, it was a big challenge. But this team did a great job, I think. So they focus on key problems to be solved. They generate potential solution as a group. That was an important thing to do. It was not individual concepts. It was a group project. And they select best concepts against a number of important criteria. So we started with the first prototype, which was this from all the group, only this guy from Czech Republic, because he spoke Spanish. He was the one and he had the possibility to come to Mexico. He was the one who came to Mexico and trying to test the first prototype that we came up with. It was also at some point kind of participatory design, because the women of the community were telling us or giving us insights about the proposal of the design. So it was a very simple design, trying to focus mainly on the fumes and the best way of the fumes to go out. That was like the main purpose of this one. What we found out in the interviews and the visiting the community is that people of the community, when the stove has the chimney, they used to take it out. Sometimes they said that they did that because on the rainy season, the water came from the chimney, from the roof where the chimney is going out. So what we tried to do is the whole stove with the same material, and trying that it was not a possibility for them to take the chimney out. Another thing that we try to use here is the material. These bricks are made with the soil of the same place, and it is a brick that doesn't have to go to the oven, it doesn't have to be cooked, which is also actually a very contaminating process. So this material is used here in Mexico by an architect for building houses in rural areas, and it works pretty good in the houses, but it didn't work that good for the stove. So that was something that didn't work properly. That was actually one of the cons of this prototype. The brick material at some point was broken. Women coming to watch the product, trying to find out the sizes. There were ergonomic adjustments to be done. There were interesting stuff that for the students, it was easy for them to make, for example, the comal. We called comal this metal part of the stove where the tortillas and the food is going to be cooked. And for the community, for women, it's like a kind of symbolic or, something like related with the, I don't have the term in English now, but the thing is that they ask for the comal to be round, just as the tortillas, because the tortillas are round, and this comal is mainly used for making the tortillas, as I said before. So that was also something that they wanted to be changed. The students proposed these doors, and they work good in order to, as we said here, the fire door enables control of oxygen for a more efficient combustion, but also the collection of the ashes was very kind of simple or easy way doing it here. But it was obvious that we needed another prototype after the first one, mainly because the students made it without knowing the context, without knowing or having the input of the people from the community. So we came out with a second prototype that it was based on I was telling you at the beginning of this presentation that there were some comparative studies of good stoves in Mexico. And in that comparative study, we selected the best one. The name of that stove is Patsari. It's a stove that it is very good in the energy performance, but none of the stoves compared in that study fulfill the parameters of the fumes, of the emissions of CO and particular matters of the stove. So that's why we needed, that was one of our main objectives, to avoid the fumes to go back to the house because it damages the health of the people. So taking into like the base of that stove, the Patsari one, we selected the good things that it had in saving energy, meaning that with less wood, they can get the fire on for longer, and that will be a good thing. Also, we try to improve some ergonomic considerations from the women, and after looking with them some of the work surfaces, they need a work surface for the stove. We tried, obviously the comal is round like the ones that they actually use, and they wanted to keep it that way, and we got two more small ones in order to use the heating that it is going to escape. We try to use this the same heating for warming up the beans or water or whatever they need in there. The comal has also, we tried, well actually what we did is an hermetic way of putting the comal in here, so the
Oops. Dr. Zarza? Hello? Oh, I think there's some connection problems. Yeah, I think there's some connection problems. Ladies and gentlemen, I think we should wait a little more. I think Dr. Zarza have some kind of connection problems. I hope he can join us as soon as possible. So in the meantime, can the committee also to play the videos of the icon arcade for us to wait until Dr. Zarza can join us again for to finish the presentation and can attend the question and answers. Okay, I have the information that Dr. Zarza in Mexico have problem with the electricity, but he tried to rejoin us. So please be patient until she can join us again later on. She tried to join us to connect. Okay, while waiting for the presentation to conclude, I just try to review a little bit about what Dr. Zarza has explained. Mostly that she explained the process when she did the research on how to do ethnographic research, ethnographic studies on design, especially when related to understanding the cultures and the social issues of the community that he and her team try to tackle the issues. Okay. I think we should wait a little bit more. Can you please replay the videos for the conference while we're waiting for Dr. Zarza to rejoin? Thank you.
Hello, my name is Marta Zarza. I am a Mexican industrial designer. I am also an undergraduate and graduate professor at the Faculty of Architecture and Design of the Autonomous University of the State of Mexico. As an academic, my research activity and publications address topics related to gender and design, as well as socially responsible design. I am currently a board member of the World Design Organization and head of the research area of the university. I am very happy to participate as a keynote speaker with a topic related with women, design, and community development. I hope you join us next September 29th and 30th to this great event, the Icon ARCCADE 2021. Thank you very much.
Okay, in the meantime, I encourage all the participants of this plenary session. You can write your question in the Q&A box in the bottom of your screen, near the bottom of your screen. So please do so. So when Dr. Zarza can rejoin us later, we can just explain the question to her so she can answer directly without further delay. So I encourage you all to write your questions in the Q&A box. Thank you.
Yes, Dr. Sharif. It's interesting, the presentation that Dr. Zarza has been explaining to us, because the situation is very similar to what we have here in Indonesia. A lot of the times there are communities that are far removed from urban situations in which they have habits that are very entangled in their social life. And if we want to change something, there are much deliberations that need to be considered in the changes that we want to apply to the communities. Do you have any examples, perhaps here in Indonesia, that you've previously met before, or
I think there are many in our case, because I'm from industrial design also, and in our department or our research group, we have also the lab for the ethnographic research. So it's quite similar to what Dr. Zarza has explained. So in this lab, we mostly try to apply ethnographic approach to understand how the people on the certain communities react and approach an artifact. Because when you talk about artifact design, usually we think about as designers, as a people who live and experience on the urban areas, not on the real areas of the communities that we are targeting to. So yeah, I think there are many in Indonesia who can use this kind of approach to make a better product, a better artifacts that suitable according to the cultural or social behaviors of those who live on the certain areas, because we cannot make it as an industrial products, right? Something that our modern societies ask us to do, using certain approach that we have product that are modernized, but sometimes they are not suitable for the certain communities that they have cultural or societal issues to address the problems. I think Dr. Zarza has joined us.
Wonderful. Is she here again?
Yeah,
yes.
Connecting to audio.
All right, handing it back to you, Dr. Sharif.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Zarza, you are still mute.
So sorry for the inconvenience. I lost the electric energy here.
Okay.
So I'm gonna share again.
Yeah. You want to try to finish or?
Almost finishing. Can I?
Almost finishing. Okay.
Can I do it?
Ladies and gentlemen, can we ask Dr. Zarza to finish the presentation before she can answer your question? Okay. So please do, Dr. Zarza.
Thank you very much. So I was just talking about the second prototype, that it just in general terms, and just to make it quicker, although it reduces the smoke output, it still does not meet health standards. The lack of pressure gas caused excess of smoking, and the concrete had some cracks in some areas. However, it had some improvements, and mostly the most important thing is that the design expression, that it was culturally compatible with local costumes and uses. So the community found it like easy for doing it themselves. They definitely use half of the wood that they usually consume, so it was also a good improvement of this one. The materials used were available in the community. So it had some improvements, but didn't get the standards that were needed for emission of CO and particulate matter. Even though, I mean, we built some of these stoves in the community, in the actual houses of the village, and we were coming back after 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, trying to find out what were the suggestions that they have for the product. One very important thing was that because of the cover that we put to the chimney was still there, and they haven't taken it out like they used to do it in the other ones. But still, it was obvious that we were not fulfilling the objectives. So we had to go with a third prototype. And as you can see quickly in here, this is a different one. It has only 2 commons for cooking. It has 2 insulated combustion chambers. The main improvement in this one is the flue equalizer system, which can be seen in here. It is better shown in the system of how it works. It was only one way to the fumes to go out, and it has another way for the oxygen to come in and to provide oxygen for combustion in the combustion chambers. So this is the way it works. The The oxygen comes in from here for the combustion chambers, and the fumes come out from here. So with this one, the measurements where we can see the way they build the prototype. This was made in UK by this is the group of researchers that built the prototype, and they made the measurements of the stove. And what we found out is the chimney system allows a very convenient airflow for energy efficiency and for smoke venting. There are two independent, in here and in here, two independent combustion chambers that make energy transmission more efficient. And the test finally were fulfilling the standards, the safety standards, talking about fumes. So that was a very convenient thing. The things in cons is that some of the materials that they use, like the refractory cement and the flue pipes, make the product expensive for the Mexican context. And for this specific prototype, the work surfaces were taken out, which the ergonomically talking are important for women. So as I said at the beginning of this presentation, this is an ongoing project. We are in this phase, very happy because at least, well, I don't have now the video in which they were measuring all the fumes with the commas and everything completely, I mean the product complete, and we fulfill the standards. But we want now, in order to build it in the community, to make a mix with the prototype 2 and 3, taking the advantages of the prototype 2 with the advantages of the prototype 3. That would be like the next step in order to complete the process of designing this project. So I'm going to tell you quickly just a final thoughts about this project that, as I said, is an ongoing project. The purpose of presenting the partial results of this study is to show improvements in the design of stoves that reduce the harmful effects produced during the preparation of food using firewood in rural homes. The current cooking model can cause damage to health and in particular impacts women who cook within these types of dwellings. Mexican society has perpetuated traditional female social roles. For this reason, this work is identified within the design and gender perspective as a possibility to improve health conditions given its permanence in these combustion areas. Based on all this information, the relevance of industrial design intervening in proposing solutions for this problem lies in the conviction that efforts to support rural development should be aimed at improving the conditions of women, considering that in this context, it is a key aspect for poverty reduction and sustainable development. So therefore, with the final product, as I said, final so far, what we are aiming to obtain is social benefits as well as economic and environmental benefits. When talking about social benefits, it's mainly about health, in improving indoor air quality and less firewood to carry the usage of the stoves. More that thing will provide more time for crafts and education for women and the preservation of identity and culture. Talking about economic benefits, lower firewood consumption also implies less money whenever they have to buy it, or if they have a fine, as I was saying in the context before, and more time for making and obviously selling the crafts that women like to do. And the environmental benefits is a contribution to Monarch Butterfly Biosphere Reserve that is in the place where they live, and obviously the reduction of fumes. And finally, I wanted to give credit of all the people that have been participated, are still participating in this project. This is from the University of the State of Mexico. These are the engineers mainly. Just Dr. Adriana is an industrial designer. The rest of them, of the people from Granville University, are engineers providing support to this project. So thank you very much. I would happily answer some questions if you have some.
Thank you so much, Dr. Zarza, of your insightful presentations. And we already have 3 questions in the question and answer box. If you may see it, the first one is asking about the gender issue has been neglected and marginalized in the design discourse. And he or she, because I don't know the name, he or she thinks it is timely and should be discussed intensely. So he or she asks, when you conducted research and design process, did you find difficulties to build a communication between researchers and women communities? So how could you reduce the gap of communication between these 2 parties?
Communication with women, it was only a problem if the husbands or fathers were there, because if there is a man there, they were not answering the questions. Actually, it was the men who were answering the questions. So after the first situation that we had in this context, as a group, we decided that it was a man there. One man of our team will ask the men to show something of the environment outside the house. And so a woman will be able to talk with another woman freely. And that worked good. But we also had the problem that some of these women, a few of them, but some of them didn't speak Spanish. So some of the kids were helping us to translate what the women were telling us, because I don't speak Masawa, and the group, none of the research group spoke Masawa. So it was only Spanish, and there was somebody else helping us for the communication. But the best strategy for communicating with these women was in the focus group. Whenever they were together, more than 5 women, they, for some reason, they felt like more free, or they felt like, more free to talk. And so it was easier to get information from them. I don't know if that was the question, if I understood.
I think you answered quite perfectly. Okay, the second question is from Mel Corpate. I hope I mentioned your name quite right. From University of the Philippines in Philippines. He says that, like Mexico, the Philippines underwent years of colonial rule from Spain and experienced cultural shift and integration. Some of this cultural integration, unfortunately, was the concept of the patriarchal culture and the macho complex, which you mentioned earlier. This social discrimination to women put them to the margins, either in political and societal spheres, because of the stereotype that they are too emotional or temperamental. Now there is a major understanding on the importance of women to this institution. So what should we do as an educator to tell women, especially from these impoverished areas, that they are multifaceted and they are not only caregivers of the home, but they can be also leaders in their own communities and societies? Please.
That's a big, it's a great question, and I don't think I have the answer, but I could give you some examples that have been very successful in some contexts in Mexico. I also work with UN Women in some programs, so also with experience of them, providing them some role models. Examples of women that in the same context have been able to be leaders of the community, to get involved in decisions that are usually taken by men, is always a good example, because whenever they see that somebody else, a woman very similar to them, has been able to do it, they feel like at least they have the option, they can also do it, or they can look after that at least. So it's not an easy thing. It has, obviously, it's a very complex thing, because it's culturally rooted, and changing culture is very difficult. It takes a long time, and everybody going in the same way. I must say that we also found communities in which women were the leaders, and in which even men said it's because they know exactly what the community needs, and that's why we need them in charge of the decisions of the community. So am I being heard because I'm frozen? No, is everything okay? Yeah, okay. So I think one important thing is the role models, and obviously the support of the family. No, we need to talk with men. That's very important, because sometimes we think that we should work mainly with women, but if we don't talk with men that are the ones that should also change this idea of women are only good in doing housework and not doing some other kind of important decisions, taking important decisions and roles in the society, then the things are not going to change. So it's a massive work that we should do with women, but also with men, mostly with men, actually, I think, with this macho society that we have.
Okay, so the key is communication, right?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. The third question is from Raditya. He's from ITB, from Industrial Design Department. So he said that he's interested in the participatory approach, which breaks down the barriers between designers, makers, and users from the society. So he would like to ask, is there any cultural barrier during the design process between the researcher and the society? So how to overcome the situation?
Mm-hmm. It is naturally like a barrier at the very beginning, because it's like asking things that are very personal, like getting into their lives, and it's not easy. It's sometimes for these people to, mainly the women, to tell about it easily. So we found it easy to do it, or we could do it by coming several times. I even came with my kids, like a family. We came and shared with them some of the costumes. They have some kind of celebrations, religious celebrations that we share with them. So we came with them to the celebration. We started like it was a long time process. We have been working on this project for 3 years. So like the ethnographic study, it took like a long, trying to get the trust or from them to us, to the research group. And as I said, coming mainly as a family and with different backgrounds in the group. For the ethnographic study, they were psychologists, they were from the human areas, humanists, even architects, designers, obviously. So with different backgrounds, multidisciplinary group. And so each one with different abilities, we worked, but it took some time coming back to the same location, to the people several times. And some other times we invite them to come here for the same prototype. We invite them to come here. Obviously we had to go to the village, pick them up and bring them to the university. And they were very, very happy, feeling that they were part of the project, that they were giving ideas and working together with us. So that made it easy, like made them part of the design process, Yeah. And women, it was mainly women. Some men came too, because they are the ones that built the stuffs. So they came also to give us inputs about it. But it was mainly for the users of the product, women that were helping us.
Okay. Your answer related to this question, next question from Ardana. She's from ITB. She asked that it seems ethnographic-based research takes time. So her question is a bit practical. How do you manage in terms of grant that is usually more strict time-wise?
Yeah, well, this was the first part of the project was 3 years. The grant was for 3 years. The money provided, and it was the first phase, the ethnographic study. It took us a little more than 1 year, and then after the first prototype, coming back to the community and and implementing the stove and coming back several times. So yeah, for the project, the name of the grant was Research in Frontier, something like that could be the translation. And it was, the desire was to talk in a multidisciplinary group, and they knew that it was going to be a long-term project because the objective was to change a cultural thing that is not, you are not going to do it from one day to another. So I guess the grant understood that we needed time and money for doing that in a long period, you know.
So in terms of the very short project, so is there any requirement or anything you can
I guess
about
you should make it shorter, no? More, in Spanish we say acotar. We have to make the project a smaller project with not that big, how can I say it in English? You have to look for a more modest outcome, maybe smaller people to ask and in a smaller scale, if you want to say it that way in some way.
So you have to suit them into a smaller project that can be done within certain time, not for a longer time.
Exactly. And also obviously it helps that I'm part of this culture, the Mexican group. We understood a lot about this culture. So that also helps because you are already in advance. No? Like, for example, you read a little bit at the beginning, I work with blind children. So when I started working with them, I knew nothing about blind children. So that project required me it was 1 year maybe for doing the toys for blind children, but it took me like 6 months to understand, coming to the schools to work with them, coming with the families that allow me to do it, to find out how was their daily life. So it was not that long. It was 1 year project, and I think I quite understood the way they live and they express themselves and whatever I needed for the project.
So longer or shorter, as long as you can empathize with the users, so it's better for the project. Okay, thank you. The next question is from Afifa. She's from ITB also. She said that she's amazed of the design process about the third prototype. Has the community, I mean the Mexican who live in those areas, try to use it? Because she noticed that it is made in the UK.
It was made in the UK, exactly. And we haven't built it in the Mexican community because before building it in the Mexican community, we want to make the mix of the second prototype with the third one, the advantages of the second one with the third one, and also with the materials of the community. So we are working now on that, how to make the process work perfect. I mean, talking about the emissions of the CO and particular matters, it worked perfect. That's what we were looking for. Now we are just trying to adjust it to the Mexican context with the materials and that. So that's the next phase, actually, to build it in here in the Mexican community.
Okay. Next questions. He or she do not provide the name, but he or she said that he or she curious. So what are the obstacles or challenges faced in order to make that product a mass product? It is a mass product, or is it a very customized product for those communities?
It's very customized.
Okay.
The idea was to teach men of the community and also women, because they are women that build their own houses, how to build it. But there are programs of the government that have built these stoves. The Patsari one that I told you before, that it was in the comparison of the stoves, it was the best one in the efficiency of the combustion. That one was made by the university in Mexico City, and the government took it, built several of those, and gave it to the communities for free. So what we are working, because the one who gave us the grant is part of the government, we are trying to promote that the final outcome of this project be taken by the government and do the same to provide them to the communities.
Okay, thank you. So this is, I think, as we still have one more question to answer from Adinda. She said that can gas be used as an option to replace wood as fuel? Because he said it can reduce the use of trees, and also when using gas, the user will not affected by traditional stove.
Yeah, there are three things related with this. For getting gas, they will have to pay, and they have no money. They're very, very poor people. So in some houses, they have one tank of gas that they use when the situation is very bad, when the wood is wet, and when they, but they told us the problem is that we don't have money to support it, I mean, for every day. The second issue is that the gas doesn't arrive, the gas provider doesn't arrive until the community. So they have to ask to walk long distance, take a taxi, get the gas, and pay a taxi. So it's something that is not easy for them. These are communities that are far away from the city, urban areas, where the gas provider doesn't go. And the third and most important thing, well, I don't know if it's most important, but also important thing, is for them, the food doesn't taste the same.
I see. Okay.
They wouldn't use it happily, like the tortillas mainly, is a different taste. And after you taste it in the way they do it, they are right, they taste different.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Zarza, for your answers. Let's finally conclude your presentation and Q&A session. Once again, thank you so much for your presentation and your answers to the presented questions. Ladies and gentlemen, I think we should give our utmost consideration and applause to the presentation Dr. Zarza has given us. Thank you so much once again. And ladies and gentlemen, this concludes the presentation, and I will give the screen to the MC, Miss Sabrina.